And away we go. Lock the doors, mute your notifications, and tell your supervisor you stepped away from your desk. It's time for the pickup meeting. I am Kevin Thomas, and beside me is the undisputed heavyweight champion of positive morale, the one and only Brody Bro Shears. Brody, we have a great topic today, great agenda. Why are you laughing at me? Just a wonderful party that we're going to have for our guests of the show today.
That was long, but really fun.
I am doing my part, right? Like, if this show fails, it is not going to be because of me. It's going to be because your intros are not as funny as mine.
Well, I don't do the intros anymore.
Exactly my point. Exactly my point. Are you doing okay?
I'm doing great.
That's good.
It's nice outside. It's gotten really hot here all of a sudden. So I'm adjusting to that. Short sleeves again. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Like crazy in Conway, Arkansas today. And so that's just been the norm the last week or so. But here we are. Now, before we do the show, we typically will talk to our producer, Matt, and our guests.
Yeah.
And we really started to get into things today. And all of a sudden it's like, hey, we should record this. So let's start the show.
Yeah.
So let's start the show. Can we talk about the things we carry with us?
Oh,
and we're two guys.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, audience. We're two guys. And I keep things on me. You keep things on you. Like, what do you carry with you?
I mean, we just talked about this. I do not carry a wallet anymore.
I don't know what that means. Where do you put your stuff?
In my front pocket. I have my AirPod Pros too. I have my driver's license. I have my insurance card, a couple credit cards. I've got my heart procedure instrument description, and then that's it. Maybe some cash from time to time, and of course my phone.
What like all of those things are just singularly isolated in your pocket?
Yeah, they're right here.
Are you kidding me? This is the most unbelievable thing. For our audio audience, Brody pulls out from his pocket just a bunch of junk that he keeps in his pocket.
Yeah,
not organized at all. This might speak to your life. I don't know. I'm at a loss.
I think it feels pretty organized. Like I told you exactly what's in there.
You did, but like, did you ever drop it? I don't understand.
I have washed a couple of my items here in the last 10 years or so. Like I'll forget to take them out of my pocket.
When did you stop being a wallet person?
I just never really liked it in my back pocket. And so at some point in time, I just stopped carrying one.
I am on the same page here. Well, first of all, I have a wallet. It's sitting on my desk. If you come to my office, please don't steal it. But it's one of these things where in the last 2 years, I've moved from putting that wallet in my back pocket because it feels like I'm sitting on a dang softball. And instead, I will put it in my front pocket, which then looks stupid.
Yes, that's why I don't carry a wallet.
And so I try to limit it some, but I'm not really doing a great job of limiting it at this moment. But then I got to thinking about, like, why is wallet a thing? And
it's about organization, isn't it?
I think so. I think that's right. But I can say this with no hesitation at all. I don't think I've ever bought myself a wallet. Ever. I think that people just gift it.
Yes. I got mine for Christmas. I'm almost certain of it.
Yeah, I think I've gotten mine from family over the years. I don't ever remember buying a wallet, but that's where my stuff goes, and there's a lot of stuff in there.
I mean, Kevin, I'm old enough to remember that my wallet had pictures in them.
Of?
People that I cared about.
Oh, like you printed out pictures and put them in your wallet, and then you would show people.
No, you used to get pictures that were that small. They were called wallet-sized pictures.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I kind of vaguely remember this being a thing. And I think I would prefer that to still be a thing over let me get out my phone and look up stuff on Facebook and show you some pictures. Like that's the worst for me. But yes. You are old.
Look, this is off the script, but I was thinking about this because I don't think that what I carry in my pockets is all that exciting. I mean, if it's winter, I might have some lip balm, like you might have lip balm. But the other thing I was thinking about is what's in your car. Like, to me, I know some people very close to me who will remain nameless, that it feels like when I get into the car that's where they live.
And this isn't me, and you're not naming people, so I'm gotta assume it's Kat.
Yes.
Okay. I said it, not you. So,
but
Kat, as you're listening to this, Brody's calling you up.
Luckily, she stopped listening, so I think we're good there.
Oh, we're losing audience like crazy here. Your wife has given up on us.
But my car's pretty clean. I keep it clean. I do not like to eat in my car. I will from time to time, but I think
we've done episodes where you've talked about your healthy diet that you eat in your car.
Well, I mean, if I'm on a long trip, I might eat a snack or two, but I generally won't eat like a meal. Don't ask me to eat a double cheeseburger and fries in a car. I generally won't do that. But I always have CDs with me. Like, I'm a physical media guy.
I don't think that I'm much different than that. Sorry, I'm jumping back here. I'm going back to the initial conversation. I don't think mine is much different than you as far as what's in my pocket and what I carry with me. It's the phone. It's the AirPods. I have those on all the time. It's keys to the car and whatnot. But in my wallet, like, I could not take this stuff and put it in my pocket. Like, what if I go to Target, man? I need my Target card.
I don't even know what that is. That's what my credit card's for. That's what your phone is for. Doesn't Target have an app?
I don't know. I'm sure they do.
Yes, they have to have an app.
They probably do.
When I go to Costco, they won't let me in without showing that screen on my phone.
Yeah, Target is not membership in that way. You don't need to do that at Target, though.
No, I understand that. But that's what I'm just saying. There's got to be an app that you can do that for Target, too. Yeah. That has your Target card on it.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. This segment's brought to you by Target. We don't know anything about you. We both carry our phone, which kind of yields to the next conversation. How many phone numbers do you know that are in your phone?
Good golly.
So I'm assuming Kat, right? I'm assuming your wife.
I know Kat's number. My kids' numbers are dicey. Like, I think I could get them to you, but I can get they're similar, so I could get the numbers mixed up. It's weird what I do remember, though. One of my dearest high school friends who I visit in Florida, like, I can remember her home phone number. My mom's my home phone number growing up, like, I can remember that number. Do you remember numbers?
No.
That's probably it.
No, I don't remember numbers at all. I would say I would be able to get one correct. That's it. And that's all I got. And I know this. I have like 200 and something phone numbers in my phone. Yes. I don't know why I know that. It seems weird, but I do know it. And I think I have one that I could get right. And I'd probably be more likely to know at least the area code, right? Like 618 coming from Southern Illinois, 270 is coming from Western Kentucky area, which is what my phone is, right? 270 number, because I've just carried it with me forever, even though I'm in Arkansas. But I don't know numbers. And I feel like that's weird. I feel like back in the day you had to. Like, tell me about it, Grandpa.
Yeah. You did have to know them. I mean, they had these things called phone books where you looked them up if you didn't know them. It got delivered to your house. Like, how would you call Target or Costco or any business?
Now, I remember phone books. That I got down. But, like, it's also one of those things you just didn't use the phone in the same way. Now, I read something the other day that, like, landlines are coming back more.
That's crazy.
I know.
Why?
I think people are trying to disconnect again.
Security?
I don't know. I guess. But I think it's different type of landlines. We're going to have to do some investigative reporting before our next episode to look into the comeback of landlines for the pickup meeting.
Yeah, I watched a Gen Z segment that Lewis Black did from The Daily Show a few months ago. Just popped up on my timeline, and he was talking about how folks are moving to the dumb phones again.
Dumb phones?
That's what they call them.
Huh. Interesting. I remember there's a couple universities that did it, and at SIUE they did, where generationally they handed the old phone, like the rotary phone.
Yeah.
to graduates of that particular year. And at that point, it would have been like 2015. And they're like, can you dial a number? Or can you dial this number? Like dial the phone number of your friend or your parent or whatever. And then they gave them the rotary phone, and they're just sitting there going, what do I do? Like they're trying to hit the buttons instead of spin the buttons and go through things. It's kind of amazing.
I remember my first flip phone, and it was nice. I got it when I moved to my job in DeKalb at Northern. Yeah, it held music. Before the iPhone, you could put like an SD card in there, and it held music. I could play music. The pictures looked pretty good.
We're always continuously learning. And I think that's what it is, right? Like we grew up on the phones we grew up on. We learned the cell phones as they've come along. Like, what do you think you're still learning right now? You're learning a bad time to take a beverage break is what you're learning.
Yeah, I'm constantly learning about everything. I've been thinking, yes. So I've been thinking about supervision a lot. I know this isn't on the script.
It's not.
But I've had a couple of conversations with leaders, folks that are reporting directly to me here recently about supervision. And I feel like in my career now, it's really the only specific thing that I know that I have to do is supervise people. And I feel like I'm constantly learning how to be a good supervisor. I'm never not learning about that. What are ways in which I could be better? How could I be more supportive? How can I run a more effective meeting? How can I make sure folks feel good about the work they're doing? I feel like I'm constantly learning about that.
I really like that. I do.
How about you?
I already know all those things. So let's talk about something.
You've learned all there's needed to learn?
No, I think as I was reflecting on this topic of like the things that I feel like I'm learning right now, I was talking to our inaugural guest, Tara Warden, the other night on the phone. And I don't think this is her quote. I think it came from somewhere else, but I'm not certain what. And it really kind of stuck with me that I think for a very long time, I've been focused on getting things done and doing things and being top of the level I can be at professionally, doing what I can do personally, all the things. And she said, she goes, I feel like right now the thing you're learning is how to be a human being instead of a human doing.
Wow.
I know. I really liked it a lot. So I don't know where it came from, but I'm going to credit Tara on this one because it felt so wise. But I think that's where I'm at right now. I'm learning to be a human being again and really just taking in breathing, taking in just existing in a moment, not needing to know what's next, not needing to know all the answers. And I am terrible at it. And Matt, I nearly slipped up and threw in some words there. I am not doing well at it, but I'm learning how to be better at it.
That's fantastic.
I know. It's scary too to learn new things.
It's good for you to be stretched that way. I mean, it is true, right? So I think I'm a good supervisor, but some days I'm like, I don't know. What could I be doing better? So you read, you see an article, and we're all just a bad thing away from not being anything, right? We're all replaceable in our work. So, ooh, boy, we need to bring on a guest.
Yeah, but and so as we wrap this up, I think to my point, or to your point, like with that constant learning, finding those outlets to grow. We've talked about this in recent episodes where professional development can come from a lot of different areas.
That's right.
And I will say right now, for me, professional development, because I'm not going to conferences, I'm not out and about, I'm not doing things. It comes from the community that I'm with, the community that I'm a part of. And so it's like LinkedIn every day, I'm reading great information from people that inspires and says, have you thought about, are you doing these things? I'm getting a ton out of that. And so I just think there are different ways to be learning. And that lifelong learning can be scary.
It can be, but I think it's exciting.
Yeah. You're Mr. Positive.
I am.
Are you welcoming our guest? Am I welcoming our guest?
You're welcoming the guest.
Oh,
let's do
good.
It.
Today
we both love our guests today. We both know our guests today. That's wonderful, right?
Yeah, we both know, we both adore, we both love. And we are welcoming to the pickup meeting Dr. Karen Archambault, Senior Vice President for Enrollment Management and Student Success at Rowan College at Burlington County in New Jersey. Welcome to the show, Karen.
Hello. Oh, I got applause and everything. Ooh.
Wow.
Man, it felt like we were at a Swiftie concert there. There was a lot of female yelling.
Or the Beatles.
Carry that track around with me so that I can, whenever I'm having a bad day, I can just play that in the background. That would work for me.
There it is. Yeah. It's one of these things where every time, so we talked about this, I keep the headphones with me. And if I'm walking on campus without purpose, like I'm not going to a building that's within a couple minutes, I'm putting that thing in and it's the soundtrack. And every time a Rudy song comes on from the movie Rudy, it's just like, God, why doesn't that come on every time I walk outside on a college campus? It would be the most wonderful thing.
That would be kind of fantastic. I think you need, so a couple years ago, I was doing a professional development thing with my team, and I had them all come up with their walk-up music.
Oh, love that.
That's a great one.
And then I had them we played the song, but I didn't tell them who it was. So they did they had to guess whose music was whose and all of that. And I will, if I know something is coming up, I only have a 6-minute drive from my house to my campus, and I will blast my walk-up music and I will carry it with me. And sometimes you need that. So do you know what your walk-up music would be?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Maybe it's I don't know. Where the Streets Have No Name by U2 is pretty good.
Okay.
Fool's Gold by the Stone Roses is pretty good.
I mean, I shouldn't ask you a music question, Brody, because you'll end up with 40 answers. So
yeah, that's true. What I did learn is I'm not as good a supervisor as Karen, because she does cool activities like what's your favorite walk-up song and has people pick it. So I'm learning new things already. See,
I will say they almost all got me right. So I was like, ooh, okay.
What was yours?
Yeah.
Mine is The Fighter by Gym Class Heroes.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. I am going to say, I don't know that I'm asking a lot of questions anymore. I'm kind of done for the episode because I'm going to be lost in thinking which song it should be, right? There's just so many options.
It took me a while to come up with what, I gave the assignment and then I had the deadline looming. I was like, I don't know what mine is. I can't have given this as a task and then not know what mine is. And then I was listening to stuff and I was like,
I love how applicable this is, though, to Brody's conversation of how to keep growing as a supervisor and doing these things. And there are a number of people that are listening that are jotting this down right now and saying, oh, I'm going to add this to the next. We've got to do that activity. Way to go, Karen.
Yeah.
So I've added value in the first 2 minutes. So
it was fantastic.
We don't have to do anything else.
No, we're
That's
done.
the pickup meeting, folks. I hope all your meeting. No, wait.
Yeah, you messed that up, Kevin. Don't do it.
No, I wouldn't. I can't do your outro. It's terrible. I mean, it's not terrible. It's I would do terribly at it. Sorry. Oh, geez.
Thanks, Kevin. Now I know how you really feel.
We are all over it today. Karen, you've been at your current place since 2015.
Yep.
Wow. Arriving as Dean of Enrollment Management and growing steadily until you became Senior VP. You have bucked enrollment trends with consecutive semesters of growth, built out a student success center, expanded dual enrollment partnerships, redesigned advising models. Just kind of been an all-around amazing human. Way to go. You and your team. Congrats on that. You're a past NACADA president. And stay involved with NACADA Journal and Journal of First Generation Students. So, what do you do with your free time? No, that's not the question. But, so for our audience, Karen's very involved in the field and very involved in what she's doing. But you've had quite the journey here. Salisbury, Old Dominion, Trinity, Washington, Rowan, 2 master's degree, a doctorate, 1 in history, 1 in counseling, 1 in educational leadership. What line were you following here?
I wasn't.
Oh, okay.
So I was on a faculty track because there's actually a school that I attended that doesn't show up in there because I started a doctoral program in history. And I was in that program up at University of Albany. I was there for about a year and I basically told them I wasn't going to come back because I knew it wasn't right. I knew it wasn't the right fit. And I was talking to one of my faculty members who had been, he was my faculty member for my teaching history class, which was a requirement because it was the kind of doctoral program where they weren't expecting to send people to elite schools. They were expecting to send people to teaching schools. And he said, I heard you're leaving. And I was like, yeah, I think so. And he said, well, what are you doing? And I said, I have no idea, but I know I'm not, I know this isn't it. And I said, but if I don't get a job, I'll probably be back in the fall because you're paying me to be a teaching fellow. So that's better than nothing. And he made a comment. He said, I don't know where you're going to end up, but if you can, you should do something working with college students because I've seen you teach and you're good at it. And I went, oh, okay. And having absolutely no other direction, I started applying to every job on the East Coast that had anything at all to do with late teen, early 20s age people. So I applied to nonprofits, I applied to private high schools, I applied to colleges because this professor said, this is the thing you're good at. And I was like, well, I have no idea what else to do. So that sounds good because that apparently is a field. And so I started in admissions. And when I started in admissions, I finished my master's in history. And the school that I was working at, again, not knowing really what I was going to do, they offered the counseling program. And it was a counseling program with a focus in student development and higher ed. And so, it paid my tuition and they paid my tuition and it let me put my student loans into, whatever the right word is for it. I didn't have to pay them for a while. And I ended up falling in love with the field. But I really my path, the beginning of my path was just falling into things because somebody said, you have no idea what you're doing, so go do this.
It's kind of amazing that this is a theme of a lot of episodes. And so, it's just this constant encouragement for folks that are listening or folks that you interact with, and audience members, us on the show today, to let folks know when they do a good job, right? Your life was impacted because somebody took the moment and said that. And I'm reflecting on, we recently had a campus visit and one of our admissions counselors got on stage and had the command of a senior level administrator in that moment. And I had seen him in a couple weeks and I said, Remington, you were unbelievable on the stage. It was so good. And he goes, no one's ever said that to me before. And I'm like, wow. Oh my gosh. It's those moments. And I don't know what Remington's going to do with that. But if that person didn't say that, what are you doing today, Karen? That's
I have no idea. But it goes the other way too, because when I got promoted to senior VP, one of the first things I did was I shot him an email. And I said, that's awesome. You probably do not remember me because I was on your campus for a year. I other than this one credit teaching history class, I never had him as a faculty member. I was like, you probably do not remember anything at all about me, but you had this impact on my life. And he wrote me back and was like, I only sort of remember you, but but he said exactly that of you don't know the impact you have on people until somebody tells you. Yeah. And his response to me was I'm going to carry this. I did my job. I did it. I did my job well. And so I think it goes you've got to pay that forward too. You've got to say thank you. You've got to appreciate the things that people do for you, including telling you when you did something well.
Yeah.
Yeah. That first response brings me to a point too, that we've heard this a lot from guests, is that moment of pivot doesn't happen when you're just 18 years old either. You thought you were going to teach history. You thought you were going to be a history professor. And now you've spent your entire career, right? You arrived at RCBC in 2015 as Dean of Enrollment. You're now the Senior Vice President. That's a decade of deepening at one institution, all because of that pivot. And I think that's really fascinating. But even as we start to talk about this now, you've been here a little over 10 years. Why did you stay? And what did staying teach you that moving on couldn't have?
Sure. So I think for me, if you look at, this is the longest I've ever been anywhere. Prior to this, the longest I was somewhere was for 8 years.
Okay.
And when with the exception of one job, which I will say was my favorite job I've ever had, best job ever. With the exception of that one, which I left because my family relocated. With the exception of that one, every time I have left a job, I left because I felt like I had done everything I could do in that job, right? Like I had come in with a list of stuff I wanted to accomplish, and I accomplished it. And so like I hit a point where I kind of said, I can sustain this, but I've never been good at being happy with sustaining. Like you all were talking about learning new things, and I've always wanted to like keep pushing myself, keep trying something new. I have a tendency to say yes to anything somebody suggests as a like, here, could you try this? And I'm like, yeah, sure I could. Because I want to learn something new. Yeah. And so every other job I've had, I reached the point where I was like, this is kind of all there is. Like, this is the job, and I know how to do the job, and I can do it, but I'm kind of done. And here, especially the first 10 years, like this, the past year, we've had a lot of upheaval and turmoil. But prior to that, there was never a time that I didn't feel like I had the freedom and the opportunity to say, I had this idea, I want to try something new. So I've had a lot of opportunities that were created because I said, I'm wondering if we could do this as an institution. And I've been in the position to be able to say, I'll put my time into it to try this new thing. And because I've been willing to do it, this place has continued to challenge me, because I've just constantly found new challenges and been able to apply it. And I think a lot of that comes from the very wide scope of my job, that there's almost never something. My job is everything outside of the classroom that our students experience. So there's constantly new stuff somewhere in that portfolio. Like it's,
I think, Kevin talked about being a human being instead of a human doing. And I talk about wellness and happiness all the time. And we do have to have boundaries and saying no, but I appreciate what you're saying. And it's the way I've tried to approach my professional life too. And that is, sometimes yes is just the right answer, right? I mean, it is. We have to try new things. We have to be curious about the work that we're doing. And that means kind of stepping up from time to time and saying, yeah, I'll give this a go, or yeah, I'm going to try this, or yeah, this can be done better. And I really appreciate that about your response.
Well, thank you. And I think I've gotten better in, the older I've gotten, and I think it has to do with, for the first 40 years of my life, my number one responsibility was to achieve, right? So as a student and as an employee, my number one job was to achieve.
Yeah.
And then I became a mom, and achieving is no longer my number one responsibility. Sure. And so more recently, I've gotten better at drawing boundaries, at saying no, at recognizing what I actually want to do versus what I'm being asked to do. But I still say yes to most things. I'm just more likely to ask the question first.
Yeah.
What is this going to be taking me away from? And I know one of your prior guests, who I happen to love, talked about knowing that every time you're saying yes means you're saying no to something else.
Yeah.
And I think it took me 50 years to get there. But now I'm more comfortable in that space of saying, what does saying yes to this mean?
Yeah.
What am I saying no to? But I do honestly, I think I've stayed here because I've been able to do new things. And I've been able to continually improve what we do.
It's great.
I love the callback, because I think this was a Rebecca Hapes episode.
It was.
It was a Rebecca Hapes
episode. I love Rebecca. So
she's so good. So wonderful. So when we do the Administrators Institute, and Brody and I have been a part of this conversation, one of the things that occurs is there's a definition problem. And you and I have titles that have enrollment management on them. Brody has been involved in things that are enrollment management. And I will say, Brody, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Sometimes that opinion has been a little bit of a 4-letter word, right? Like, as far as like the experience that you had within that, in that. And so enrollment management means very different things at different institutions. And so how do you think that plays out at your campus? And how is that different from what people usually picture when they hear that phrase?
Mhm.
And maybe the other part of that is like, you just recently did a strategic enrollment management plan. How has the various parts, but maybe advising specific, played a part of that in what you're trying to build at your institution? I know that's a long question, but
That was a
No,
long question,
it's a
Kevin.
good one.
It was good.
it was really two questions into one, but we're doing what we can.
We'll see what happens. See if I get to both parts of the question
That's
in
right.
my answer.
He's learning to be a better interviewer.
So when I came here as Dean of Enrollment Management, there were actually two new positions that were created. It was Dean of Enrollment Management and Dean of Student Success. And I saw myself in both of them. So I applied to both of them. And I ended up getting hired for Dean of Enrollment Management, but that was the one that didn't have advising in it. And I struggled. The way that the positions were split, it was basically we want these two positions to be equal.
Right.
So we have whatever 14 departments and we need 7 in each. And we're going to mix them up so that there's 7 in each. When I became VP and then still senior VP, I got advising back. And I think for me, it's always been about the student's whole experience. And one of the things that is like community college specific in where it came from, but I think it's true everywhere, which is when community colleges were founded, we talked about access. We talked about, did you get the students in the door? And as long as they walked in the door, you had done your job. And then we hit a point, and the literature calls it community college 2.0. You got to the point where you were worried about your graduation rate. Did they graduate? Did they have a family sustaining wage? Did they have the outcomes that actually make coming to college worth it? And I think especially when you're talking about first gen students, you're talking about low income students, if you get the first 2 right, you get them in the door and they graduate, but there's nothing better on the other end of that graduation, then you haven't done your job, right? Like, yeah, they've got a piece of paper. That's fantastic, but they're still working the same job at the same wage that they were when they walked in your door.
Yep.
So like circle back around to your actual question, to me, I gave a presentation years ago where I kept repeating the line, happy students make happy alumni. And that framework of like, if you're a happy applicant and you're a happy admitted student, you become a happy enrolled student and a happy retained student and a happy graduate and a happy donor at the end of it. It is truly like, as I don't love the phrasing of cradle to grave because it's kind of depressing. But it is that, right? It's full life cycle of the student. And I think where conversations about enrollment management have gone wrong for years, decades, whatever, is that they've talked about it as if enrollment management is about administrative functions and admissions processes. So if it's all about that access piece, did you get them in the door? And if you got them in the door, then you managed enrollment. But that ignores retention. It ignores outcomes. It ignores the student in a lot of ways. Like that's a numbers game, not a student game. So when I think about enrollment management, to me, it's really about what is the student experience. Yeah. So when we put together our SEM plan, yes, we absolutely have the front end. What is the increase in our new student enrollment, right? How many new students have walked in the door? Because we're a tuition driven institution. We can't not have a focus on new student enrollment. But we also included the questions of graduation and satisfaction and retention and outcomes. And like all of that is in our SEM plan. And to me, it's just looking at the full student experience. And I even had some folks on my staff who were like, well, but shouldn't the SEM plan come out of admissions? I'm like, no, everybody's got to be in the room. Every single person. And, I have tutoring reporting to me. I have our testing office reporting to me. I have our business engagement office reporting to me. So the folks who go out and build new partnerships with businesses across the county reports to me. Counseling, disability services, student life, all of these things. And my goal in getting our SEM plan off the ground was that every single office and therefore every single staff member would have something to like latch onto so that they could say, I see myself there, and not in like an arbitrary kind of a way, but in a way where it was, oh, there I am. I'm right there. I show up. I matter. Because, you put together a SEM plan that doesn't include tutoring or doesn't include the test center, and then you have to include them in every meeting. And they're sitting there going, why am I here? This is a waste of my time. I'm not part of this.
Yeah.
So that was really, my approach to enrollment management is that enrollment and enrollment management is everybody's job. It connects with every faculty member, every staff member, every administrator, every janitor, everything.
Yeah.
And I've told the story to my team about the janitor in my master's program at Old Dominion. And I remember her. She was assigned to our floor. And it has been a long time since I was in that program, right? It is 30 years since I entered that program. And I remember her because she always checked on me. She always wanted to know how I was doing.
Yeah.
She knew my name. She knew my office. She knew everything that mattered in my presence on that floor. And she was part of what kept me enrolled there. She made that place welcoming for me. Yeah. And so to me, that's what we get right and wrong when we talk about enrollment management is we got to get away from enrollment management is only about data, or it's only about statistics, or it's only about the entering class. Because it's about all those things, but it's about a whole lot more than that.
Setting the tone, Kevin. Like Shorzy, let's go. So let's talk about advising specifically, Karen. You redesigned the advising model at RCBC in ways that we've seen have contributed to the increased graduation rates. What specifically changed, and what did you have to reorganize, dismantle, reprioritize to make that possible?
Sure. So it's a pretty simple approach. And I would say our program has changed. We're still shifting the attitudes and behaviors of our students. Because a couple years ago, we were so badly resourced that not a single advisor had a caseload. The only people who had caseloads were the ones in specialty programs. So like our Opportunity Fund had a caseload, but they're state grant funded. They're not coming out of operational dollars. We didn't have enough advisors to have caseloads. And what we did was we more than doubled the size of our advising unit. And we shifted from an entirely walk-in model to a caseload-driven model. We've still got a lot of students who walk in, and I've got a lot of people who want to make students happy and struggle with saying, we're not doing walk-ins. I've got to make you an appointment with, Kevin's your advisor. I've got to make you an appointment with Kevin. So that's kind of where we are right now. But the model is designed, it's not perfect by any stretch. The caseloads are too large. But we went from, if we had caseloads before, they would have been caseloads of over 1,000 students for each of our available advisors. And they're now around 400. So they're not perfect. They're not ideal, but they are now manageable. Yeah. And they weren't before. It was not possible. And I sat down our advising team and I said, before I told them that we were adding all these new staff, I sat them down and I said, you guys have been beat up a lot. Yeah. You've been told that it's your fault. You've been told that these long lines of walk-ins are your fault. And the truth is the college did not resource you to be successful. Yeah. And I said, I want to see our students have an advising experience that we can be proud of. And it's not that you all don't know how to do your jobs. It's not that you all aren't capable of being good advisors, but we've put you in a model where you can't be good advisors.
Yeah, that's not 1,000 to 1 caseloads aren't advising problems. They're system problems.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
I mean, that's just reality.
Absolutely.
You can't even aspirationally think about meeting with 1,000 students in a semester. No. It's impossible.
It's not possible. And what we did was we ran the numbers, and I came up with a budget ask that I didn't think I was going to get, honestly. Like when I made the ask, I had written my then director of advising. I had asked her to do the math. Tell me what it would look like. We pulled from a model from a community college down in Texas that had 6 points of contact. And I said, do the math. for what it would look like for 6 points of contact. And over the course of their associate's degree, give me what it would look like for 6 points of contact. And she did the math. She was like, there's no way we're getting this. And I looked at it and I was like, yeah, there's no way we're getting this. And I don't know. I don't know why. Like, I don't know who got told no the year that we were told yes.
Yeah.
But we really doubled down on advising as a priority financially for the institution. And I'm sure you've both heard that, that phrase of, show me where you spend your money and I'll tell you where your priorities are.
Yeah.
And this is, the experience of our students became a priority for us in a way that it wasn't funded to be a priority previously.
Yeah.
So I put, the work of changing the model after the finances and after the lines are approved. That is, it's in that phrasing of under her leadership, but that is my advising folks. That is, my now associate dean of advising, my, past directors of advising, my advising team. They bought in and we doubled, we put them in a position to be successful. And I think they are the reason why anything changes. For those of us in our positions, we can say, this is what we should do, or this is what we have to do, or this is what it's going to look like.
Right.
But you can only force so much. You can't make people, if you're a remotely effective leader, not a manager, you cannot make people do what you want them to do. They have to be part of it.
Yeah.
And that's, I think there are probably a lot of times when I fail miserably at that, because I'm like, come on, we're just going to do it. But it's the advising team that gets it done every day. That is all them.
You hear that, listeners? You shoot your shot, because the worst that can happen is it gets blocked. But if it doesn't, and you all of a sudden get everything you asked for, it's a pretty golden day. Karen, I'm going to transition a little bit to transfer students, and because I know that this is something that runs through almost everything you've published and everything you've presented on, dissertation, chapters, conference work. What is the thing about the transfer student experience that higher ed still gets fundamentally wrong?
So there's one big one, and I don't think it's really the higher ed community. It's the system that we all live in, which is that our numbers are all based still on first-time, full-time. And so I gave a presentation years ago where I started with a picture of President Obama, and he was president at the time. And I flashed the word failure across several times, and I got like gasps in the audience. And I said, I don't think he's a failure. I said, and I'm not talking about his presidency. I'm talking about his academic career. And anybody who says, but look at his law degree and look at, he got his bachelor's and he got his law degree, but his bachelor's degree was never counted in anybody's success rate because he started at Occidental College and that's not where he graduated from. He was a transfer student.
Yeah.
And so that fundamental piece of there is no incentive, especially for higher end, more elite institutions who worry about rankings and numbers and things like that more than the average institution. There is no incentive for them to do right by their transfer students. And when they do funding, when they do scholarships, most institutions look at it and say, well, you've already saved your money. We don't have to give you a big scholarship. You're a transfer student. You already saved money by going to your community college. And the problem with that logic is that assumes that it was money they had to save, put in the bank, and use when they transferred.
Yep.
But in reality, it was money they never had. So they didn't save anything. They just didn't go into debt. And so the expectation that transfer students will be willing and able to go into significant debt for 2 years because they don't have a choice.
Right.
That's, there's little incentive for the senior institutions to do anything to really upend the system. And I became an advocate for transfer students because that was my first job. I was a transfer admissions counselor. And what I saw on my campus was that my students who were coming in, they didn't get, and this is 20, almost 27 years ago. So they didn't get a first year experience. Yeah. They didn't get any kind of real orientation that spoke to what their lived experience was. They got me as their first advisor, and I didn't know what I was doing. I had been on the job for 20 minutes when I had my first student to advise. And I was just very fortunate that I had a dean of students at the time. I didn't report to her, but these functions reported to her. Right. And she was and is a mentor. She's still somebody that I will call and say, hey, what do you think of this? And I went to her and I was like, my students don't have X, they don't have Y, they don't have Z. And she said, okay, well then, go make it happen. And so I became an advocate for transfer students because somebody told me I could, but also because there was all of this gap at the institution. And I learned through that gap existed everywhere, because there was really there's no incentive except a moral one, an ethical one. And I think there's a huge incentive to recruit transfer students because they are a cash cow. Yep. But there's little to no incentive to do right by them.
I think the thing that's really hard, and we've had this conversation with previous guests in a similar vein that talk about community college work and transfer work and things that are going on there. And I think for all three of us that sit in this chair and a lot of the people that are listening today, that think, okay, well, institutionally, I can control what I can control. But, it's one of those from a national narrative and what you're talking about. How do we push an organization to get to a point that if they put some momentum behind transfer students, they could make them super powerful? Mm-hmm. We can all keep doing our little bite at a time, but that's not solving the problem. It's not making it significant in that way. And transfer students get left out and kind of forgotten that way. And that's super unfortunate.
Well, and it's, the landscape has changed a bit because there's that financial incentive.
Right.
There's with the smaller high school population.
Yeah.
There's a need to recruit just to make the class, right? They've got to recruit transfer students to make the class.
Yeah.
But I think about, you all are not on the East Coast. We've got Princeton right here in New Jersey. And a decade ago, Princeton did not accept transfer students at all. They would not, if you tried to apply as a transfer student, they would say, we don't care about your community college. If you don't have the grades and the SATs from high school, you're not being admitted. And they did not accept a single credit in transfer. They now have built out whole systems around getting those students in the door. But there's no incentive to make it meaningful for them. The incentive is all the financial one. And I mean, Princeton has done phenomenal work in engaging with the community colleges and really getting buy-in from the community colleges and creating pipelines for students and all that. But there's still every institution still struggles to make meaning of what do transfer students really bring to my campus beyond the financials and filling a seat.
Yeah, we better sort that out fast too, because it continues to evolve in ways that are really, everywhere I've worked, transfer students have been such an important part of the ecosystem. It's crazy to not think about it that way. And that change or die attitude better come, because this is a population that's not going away.
No. Well, and the more expensive every other institutional type gets, the more families there are who say, I can't make a choice other than the community college. It's all I can do. That's the only thing I can. It's the only option I have.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit more about your population and some of that money piece and some of the things you've done at RCBC, right? Mostly first generation, mostly commuter. You've established
entirely commuter.
Yeah. You've established a food pantry, emergency fund. You're a co-advisor of the Alpha chapter, which is the First Gen Honor Society. Yeah. So this is really about comprehensive basic needs support, redesigned advising, emergency funds, support that is kind of built into the student organizational piece. Mm-hmm. All of these have a financial well-being component at their core, right? How do you think about the money piece at your institution? Is this a student affairs problem, an enrollment management problem, or something else entirely?
I think it's an institutional problem. And when we looked at the data around who drops out, who leaves and doesn't come back, and we work with an organization that does a lot of outreach to our stop out students. And what they found out was that the number one reason why students don't continue is financial.
Yeah.
And the number two reason and number three reason, if you really look at them, they're financial too.
Also,
because there are things like, I needed to work more hours.
Right.
Well, you needed to work more hours because you were struggling financially.
Sure.
Or I couldn't balance everything. Well, that's because you needed to work more hours,
Right.
because you couldn't make everything work. So when we looked at it, it really was the question of, we won't have students if we don't think about how do we take care of them. And we've been lucky that we've gotten a lot, we've sought a lot of grant funding from the state and also from private foundations. Our food pantry has never spent $1 of operational funds. It's been entirely funded by foundations and by the institution's foundation, by external foundations, and by the state through a grant. And same thing with the emergency fund. Those are not operational dollars. So they don't fall on the backs of other students to make, because that's the challenge, right? If your
Right.
entire institution is struggling financially, you can't raise tuition dollars to try to solve those financial problems because they can't afford it.
Sure.
So, we've been able to find those sources to try to provide that wraparound support. And when we first started it back in 2019, we launched the food pantry. We really kind of struggled philosophically about how much are we a college and how much are we a social service agency. And we really, I had a lot of conversations on campus around, well, how far are we going to go? How much support are we going to provide? How much can we do and not feel like we've gone sideways from our mission?
Right.
But the truth is, these are the reasons that students leave. These are the reasons why students can't continue. And some of it is the actual supports that we provide on campus that keeps them here. But I would argue that it's more often, it is the fact that they believe that we care about them, because we're not solving their problems with a $250 emergency fund gift card, right? We're not feeding their family of 5 with a bag of groceries a week from the food pantry. But we're giving a Band-Aid, but we're also giving a support system.
Yeah.
So they have somebody to meet with. They have somebody to help them apply for SNAP benefits. They have somebody to help them figure out, is there more financial aid available because I lost my job? And all those pieces, fitting them all together. So our students struggle financially. It is a given. The great majority of our students come to us as a financial choice.
Right.
Some of them choose us because they've determined that the money elsewhere isn't worth it for the first 2 years, but most of them choose us because they don't have any other choices financially. And so we have to have that as part of our equation. We have that conversation every year when we talk about tuition increases. And we have a state program that provides free college to a certain level. And we've tried every year to make sure that our tuition increases stay within the allowable increase for that program, so that students who started as free community college can stay free community college, that we haven't gone past what's allowed. But I don't think we can have a conversation, especially about community college students. I don't think we can have a conversation that doesn't include their financial picture. And I think one of the other things that we're just getting ready to launch, which is unusual for community colleges, is really thinking about our scholarship model. Several years ago, we got rid of our scholarship application because we decided that from a need-based perspective, there's nothing that a student can tell me on an application that I don't already know. Mm-hmm. They're telling me that they want me to, consider their grades. Well, I already have their grades. And they want me to consider their financial situation. Well, I have their FAFSA, right? So why am I prioritizing students who can find the information? You're more likely to find the student who is second generation, third generation, wealthy or whatever because somebody told them there's probably scholarship dollars available.
Yep.
So several years ago, we got rid of that. And now we're redesigning our funding model to basically create our sweet spot of students who are not getting enough state and federal aid to pay their bill, but want to be here and don't have the money. So it's not huge money because we're not a well-resourced institution, but finding that piece that says the student who is on the fence and saying, and this is to Kevin's question from earlier about the sort of connection with enrollment management. Those students are on the fence and maybe can't be here without that $1,000 scholarship.
Yeah.
So it's really about designing whole systems and thinking about how all these pieces interact. And for me, that's like the joy of my job, because my job sees every one of those pieces. I'm part of every single one of those pieces outside the classroom. And we use our faculty as advocates to talk to students about, if you're struggling, here's where you go. It's in every syllabus is a language about what if you need help? What if you need financial help? Where do you go on campus? So I really think it's systems. It's how do you recognize the challenges that your students have and then build your systems to respond to those challenges instead of expecting students to change to meet your system.
It's so simple, but it's really innovative too, in the sense that your job is just to remove the barriers, right? Like, let's go.
Yep. I mean, one of the first things we did here, and it sounds so silly, but do you have a bursar on your campus?
Yeah.
We don't have a bursar. We have a student accounts office. We had this conversation about what the heck is a bursar and how would a first generation student know that a bursar was where they went to pay their bill? Is that they wouldn't. So why are we calling it that? And so it's like the simple little things of like, why would you use language? Why do you expect your students to learn how to navigate higher ed in order to navigate higher ed? Yeah. I just want them to be able to get their degree. Yeah. I just want them to be able to learn. And so it's a lot of it is those little things that like we now have full year registration. We don't have a graduation application anymore. There are these like small things that are huge for the students. We graduate more students than we ever have before because we no longer make them fill out a form to tell us what we already know. Yeah. We know if you finished your degree or not. Why are we making you fill out a form to tell us that? So it's these little like administrative hurdles that when you're talking about a population that does not have time to get through administrative hurdles, what can we do to remove the hurdle?
It's amazing.
There are so many questions that we still have remaining, and we've run to a point where we've got to move to some life and fun questions.
Okay, I can
you declared, and we kind of Brody and I talked about this at the beginning, and I don't know that we answered it super well, but we were learning. You declared 2026 your year of learning new things. You made this decision in January. What did you actually sign yourself up for, and how's it going?
So I think it's going good so far, although I think I'm pretty terrible at all the things that I'm learning.
I don't believe that for a second.
It kind of started last year because as you both know, my daughter's involved in theater, and I bought myself a really nice camera to try to get better pictures of her when she's on stage. Yeah. And I found out that I am really bad at using this new camera that I don't understand. So it kind of started last year, and I started trying to understand this camera, right? And trying to understand what to do with it. And so when I came up into like December into January, I was like, I have to really like actually try to learn this instead of doing 10 minutes a week of me. Oh, well, let me go watch a YouTube video and never apply it to anything.
Right.
So it kind of started with that. And I understand a lot more than I did when I started with the camera. Although I will say I'm in the understanding phase. I'm not yet in the application phase. Like I think I take an okay picture now, but it's not fantastic. But I also have, I took a class to learn how to sew. I took this 4-week class to learn how to sew and quilt. And I have never sewn in my life. My mom had a sewing machine and it was like, why would anyone want to do that? But I decided that I wanted to. And that I think I'm actually pretty decent at. I made my daughter a quilt for Valentine's Day. And
that's awesome.
She uses it every day. She loves it. And it hasn't fallen apart yet. and it's like 4 months old, and it's been through the wash a few times, and it's still all in one piece. So I consider that a victory. I took a calligraphy class, which I can see progress. I am still not good at it, but I am getting better at it. And my most recent thing is that I'm learning how to drive a stick shift.
Oh,
because I do not.
Amazing race.
That, well, what it is that my you both know my dad passed away a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And my mom is giving me my dad's car,
Oh.
which it's a Corvette. It was his dream car. It's a 99 red Corvette.
Wow.
And my childhood was spent going to car lots with my dad and looking at Corvettes and like always sitting in the passenger seat, right? I was not old enough to drive it. And then when my dad bought this car, he didn't let anybody drive it, right? It was his baby. It's probably the one thing in life he loved more than he loved us. But he bought this car. So I'm getting this car now, and I don't know how to drive the thing. So I started out with taking a 3-hour stick shift driving lesson, and only stalled out like 2 or 3 times. So I saw that as a victory. And now I just have to figure out how to practice so that I'm supposed to get the car towed down. My mom lives a little over an hour away, so I've got to get the car towed down here and make sure that it's road safe and all of those things. And then I'll be driving it, and it might be terrible, but I will be driving the car. So that's where I am so far.
I love it. That's great.
It's all stuff that, like, I made this big list of just like everything I could think of that someone might want to learn, and then just started crossing off the things that I was like, I don't want to learn that. I don't know who, like, someone would want to learn that, but it isn't me. And then started just picking things out and like, can I find a class for that? Can I find somebody who will teach me about whatever? And the stick shift driving was actually the lesson was a gift. So that one was a Christmas gift of like, if you're going to get this car, you got to learn how to drive it. Because, completely destroying the clutch seemed like a bad idea. So that's what I've been up to. And I don't know yet what's next because I'm just did the stick shift class last Sunday. So I got to figure out I've been trying to do something like pretty much each month or so, and trying to maintain all of them. So I'm still doing all of those things.
I love it. And here's what I love as we're heading into the lightning round. I love that the car was red because you're a secret Cardinals fan. Let's go to the lightning round.
Yeah.
That's actually
lightning round.
I knew that was coming, so you would not have a rebuttal. Like, it was just there.
That's not it.
Up with your top 3 Yankees fans of all time.
Top 3 Yankee players.
Players, sorry.
Yeah, of your lifetime.
Of your lifetime.
Of my lifetime or
no,
of
your lifetime?
Your lifetime.
My lifetime. Well, first is Don Mattingly.
Yes.
Without a doubt. That's easy.
That's easy.
I have to say Derek Jeter, because I went to induction for him at Cooperstown. My dad and I went for induction, and he was already in the top anyway, but that was like a life moment.
Yeah. I know.
It's hard because there's a lot, because like, I love Reggie.
Good.
I love Reggie as a kid. But I think I will go with Bernie Williams, not because he's a great player, though he is, but because he's also a classically trained musician. Yeah. And I love that. I love that he has these two things that are so different, and that, he's got like both sides of his brain going. And he played the Star Spangled Banner at the induction when Jeter was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And it was a moment. It was like,
chills.
Chills. It was amazing. So, but it is, I have been told that the world was connecting for me, because I grew up in North Jersey. I grew up in Yankees country, but I now live in Phillies country. And when Mattingly, came to the Phillies, before he became interim manager, but when he came to the Phillies organization, I must have had 20 people text me like, look what's happening. Your worlds are colliding. It's all working out for you. I said, I'm still not going to be a Phillies fan, but I'll cheer for Donnie, but it's, I'm still not a Phillies fan. So.
It's funny because in Evansville, Mattingly's like John Mellencamp. I remember going to youth basketball games when my nephews were playing, and he was with a woman who had kids that age, and you just would be sitting right next to Don Mattingly. You wouldn't say anything other than just hello, and he'd say hello back, and I'm like, oh.
Yeah, see, the thing is, like, if it was not my lifetime, I would throw in Phil Rizzuto for exactly the same reason. Phil Rizzuto lived a town away from me when I was a kid, and we'd see him just out and about. Like we'd be shopping in the center of town. It'd be like, oh, there's Phil Rizzuto.
Yeah.
And so like there's people who were alive during my lifetime but weren't players during my lifetime who make that list pretty easily if I get to expand the list.
So how about this? Historian, counselor, or enrollment management? Which one shows up first on a hard day?
They're kind of the same thing. I still teach history of higher ed.
Yeah.
That's one of my areas. As I teach history of higher ed, and I am a big, very, very, very big believer that the past informs the current and the future. And so if it's a student issue, the counseling piece has to be in the forefront. Like if it's a direct, this student has an issue thing, the counseling piece has to be in the forefront. But I think they all fit together because it's, I always think about what came before, what did we do before, what worked, what didn't work, what failed, what survived. So I don't think I can ever get away from having a historian's mindset. That's like ingrained. All three of them are like ingrained in me. The counselor piece is probably the least because my program wasn't really a counseling program. It was a student development program. So, my favorite theorists show up with my historian background and my enrollment management pieces. They all kind of sit together.
It's great.
This is probably my last one. Hidden talent your NACADA colleagues have no idea about.
Okay. See, there's the one that I always use for icebreakers. So it's possible that people know this already. But I twirled fire. I
did not know it.
Yeah. So I have a burn scar from when I lit my cutoffs on fire in the early 90s. Because I was a twirler in high school and I twirled fire.
Wow.
Somewhere there are old VHS tapes that have video of me twirling fire.
Coffee, tea, or something else?
What was that?
Coffee, tea, or something else? Like
iced tea.
Okay.
I don't drink coffee at all. And I actually drink, I actually consume almost no caffeine at this point. I went off caffeine a couple years ago because of a medication that I was on. It was like, if you drink caffeine while taking this, you might die. And I figured that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
I went cold turkey off of caffeine, and I have it very, very rarely. But I've never been a coffee drinker. So I'll drink like caffeine-free iced tea pretty regularly, but that's about it. That and water.
Okay.
I love that this is an episode of the Pickup Meeting where non-coffee drinkers outnumber the coffee drinkers.
Oh,
gosh.
I only drink caffeine.
I don't understand the appeal of coffee.
I don't get it either.
I don't get it. Like I had it, and I would say I had it once and I spit it out because I didn't know I picked up the cup and I thought it was my tea and it was not, it was coffee. And I literally spit it across the car and was like, why would anyone drink that?
It is delicious.
Nasty.
Terrible.
Well, we've come to the end of this episode. And Karen, you made it. You survived. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us.
Can I get that cheer again for surviving?
If Matt's paying attention,
on the trigger
we're not producing. There we go.
The Taylor Swift concert is over. Thank you again, Karen, for being part of our show. We're so glad to have you. And you were fantastic. It was great.
Thank you. It was great to see you both.
Love getting caught up. Yeah, fantastic.
Bye-bye.
So, how great was that?
So great. So good.
There's so many takeaways as far as just applicable things that as administrators, as leaders, that we can do. And that's why I love anytime I get a chance to interact with Karen, I'm always having takeaways of things that I can do better. So I'm always doing what she's doing, which is learning.
Yeah, the year of learning is, I think, a really great takeaway from the session today. And I loved her approach to enrollment management. That first response, I think, really hit me right in the face. It was a great approach to what I think enrollment management is. And so I just, yeah, fantastic.
All right, so we got a top 3 today. And for our audience that normally like, well, how do you guys come up with these top 3s? We make crap up. But normally we make crap up in advance, and today we did not.
No, we didn't.
I know. So here's what we're going to do. Top 3 favorite Nakata presidents. All right, so bro, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
We've had quite a few on the show. So that's set up for a bad thing. So what I'm thinking here is, and I think you're going to do better than me at this, let's move back to the conversation of walk-up songs off the cuff right here, right now. Like, let's do this. Top 3 walk-up songs that you would pick.
Gosh darn it. That's crazy. Look, I have to say this because I think about this. I'm a runner, and there's a song on my running playlist that has probably been played in my headphones more than any other song. And it's a song that nobody knows, but it's amazing. It's a song called Pounding by a group called the Doves, or just Doves. They're a British group, and it's just a great running song. And I would add that to my Stone Roses or my U2, Where the Streets Have No Name. It has to be one of those 3. I think those would be my top 3.
The ones that stand out for me, this is going to date me some. One is the Legion of Doom, when they used to come out and wrestling as an.
Oh my God.
And like, it just would play this, like the guy like yells, and then it just plays some guitars just crashing. Yeah. I would love that one. That one. But I think beyond that, I really like the idea of Weezer's Say It Ain't So.
Oh, that's a great choice.
And then I get into a little bit of like, just like some of the songs that I like. I'm a big fan of like theme songs and tracks for movies. And I love Test Drive from How to Train a Dragon. Like, I would put that in there. Like, and I love that. But if I have a runner up to that and I'm going more like bands, I think I would steal from Mark McGuire. I'm going Guns N' Roses, Welcome to the Jungle. That intro, it would just be unbelievable.
I thought for sure you'd have a Garth Brooks track.
No, if anything, I think I would move to like some Turnpike Troubadours or something, a little Matt Carpenter like, so that you would just really be mad at me.
You just talked about Matt Carpenter, my least favorite Cardinal of my lifetime.
Of all time.
Golly.
I know.
You did it.
I know.
We're going to have to end there because you disgust me.
Send us home, man.
That's it for this edition of the Pickup Meeting, gang. We hope all your meetings, whether formal or pickup style, are as fun and as meaningful as this one. Until the next time, let's just do good and be nice. Be nice.
You're like flashing cash. That's amazing.